Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm BoxCharge, and today we're diving into one of the most solid, reliable, and low-key sneaky openings out there, the Caro-Kann Defense. If you're tired of getting steamrolled in the opening or just want a weapon that's both safe and deadly, this is the one for you. Let's get into it. Alright, the Caro-Kann is what I'd call the perfect mix of defense and counterattack. It starts with the moves e4, c6. This little pawn push looks simple, but it sets up a rock-solid structure while preparing to challenge white's center. You will usually see that followed by d4, d5, black immediately threatening white's central pawn on e4. Pretty straightforward so far, right? Now here's where things get interesting. Depending on how white responds, the Caro-Kann branches out into a few different variations. Let's break them down quickly. First up, we've got the advanced variation. After e5, white grabs space and locks in their pawn center. Black responds with bishop f5, developing the bishop outside the pawn chain before locking it in with e6. This line gives black easy development and long-term counterplay. Then there's the exchange variation, where white plays e takes d5, c takes d5. This one leads to a more symmetrical pawn structure, and while it looks harmless, the game can quickly become dynamic. Black typically develops quickly and looks for opportunities to outmaneuver white in the middle game. But the real spicy one, that's the main line with knight c3 or knight d2. White develops their knights, keeping options open. Black continues with d takes e4, grabbing the pawn. White usually recaptures with the knight, and from here, black has a bunch of flexible plans, everything from solid development to sharp counterattacks. One more variation worth mentioning is the Panov-Botvinnik Attack. White plays c4 after the exchange variation, creating an isolated pawn on d4. It looks aggressive, but black can target that pawn and build a strong position around it. So what makes the Caro-Kann so good? First, it's solid as a rock. You get a pawn structure that's hard to break, and your king stays super safe. Second, it's flexible. You can play it aggressively or defensively depending on your style. And third, it's got serious staying power in the endgame. Those pawn structures often lead to positions where black's pieces are super active, even in simplified endings. Now, let's talk strategy. In most lines, black's main goals are simple. Challenge white's center, develop the pieces harmoniously, and look for counterattacking chances. For example, after you play bishop f5 and get your knight to f6, you can either castle kingside or, in some cases, even leave the king in the center for a bit if it's safe. The idea is to stay flexible, react to white's setup, and wait for the right moment to strike. Some of the biggest names in chess history have used the Caro-Kann with insane success. Think Magnus Carlsen, Anatoly Karpov, and even Bobby Fischer when he wanted a solid but ambitious weapon. It's one of those openings where you're never totally out of the fight, even if white grabs some early space. But hey, let's not pretend it's all sunshine and rainbows. The Caro-Kann does have its downsides. For one, it can sometimes feel passive if you're not careful. If you don't time your counterattacks right, white might just squeeze you out. Also, some lines can get super technical, so it's not exactly the play it and forget it kind of opening. You'll need to put in some study time, but trust me, it's worth it. Alright, before we wrap up, here are some quick tips for crushing it with the Caro-Kann. First, don't rush. This is a patient opening. You're not looking to blow your opponent off the board in the first 10 moves. Second, watch out for white's tricks. In some variations, white will try to set up quick attacks, especially in the advanced variation. Be ready to defend, and then counter when the time is right. And finally, learn the pawn breaks. Moves like c5 or f6 at the right moment can completely change the game and open up new tactical possibilities. And that's the Caro-Kann Defense. It's the perfect choice if you want something reliable but still packed with counterplay potential. Give it a shot in your next game and let me know how it goes in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on more chess tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.